of Hi, good evening. I'm Kurt Richter, and welcome to another webinar brought to you by the Helsinki Photo Festival 2021. We have three photographers joining us tonight, whose names all is Maria and Marie and Maria. Odd coincidence, very nice. Just a few words about the festival itself. It is an annual festival. This is the fourth year. It's open to anybody. Submissions are opened. It's an open call. There are 50 winners selected, and then 10 from Nordic country, along with usually 4 solo exhibitions. This weekend, we have a workshop with a photojournalist whose name, I am terrible with names, is Christian Wobst. He's been published in National Geographic, Guardian, along with any other publications. And on Friday afternoon, there is a portfolio review at Finlandia Hall here in downtown Helsinki. I think that's it for our opening. And my introductions are very short. I leave it to the photographers to explain their work. I don't do that in my intro. So our first speaker and presenter tonight is Maria Kjartans. Forgive me, did I do anything correctly with your name? It is Maria, I got that right. So without any more of my bastardizing the pronunciation of your name, please go ahead, Maria. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Kurt, and thanks for having me. And do you see the presentation?
Coming up now.
Okay. Just wondering if it's live or not. So, do you hear me or?
Yep.
Okay, so my name is Maria Kjartans, and I am from Iceland, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to take part in the Helsinki Photo Festival this year. And my series for the Fearless exhibition was actually made from 3 different series, and I just want to tell you a little bit about where I come from and why my images are moving in that direction. So basically, the image you see on screen now is a photograph my dad made in 1980 in Iceland. It has been, I would say, my most influential work ever, and I found it when I was living in Glasgow doing my master's degree. And it's actually on the right corner, down right corner, you see a person with a black hood on. That's actually my mom, and she was 9.5 months pregnant of me when this photo was made. And I found it. It was just a slideshow in my dad's garage one year. I came home for Christmas, and I've kept it ever since, and I've even printed it out, and it's hanging on my wall as my kind of main influence, because it's an image where what do you say? It's people in nature and so effortless. It's almost like they're strolling down, Oxford Street or something. And it was when they went to like a work trip in late September, in pouring rain and crazy weather and wind, to stay in tents. And it's not easy to access this place. And it kind of I'm captivated, and like how easy, I don't know, you don't see this kind of pictures anymore. People just don't go and stay in nature with the kids late September in a tent. Like there's nothing easier. And it made me think of how fearful we are of nature, I think, in today's environment, especially people living in big cities. And I was living in Spain, and then Glasgow and London for many years, 7 years, and Paris. And when I got a grant to make a photograph after living in Paris, I took 2 kids, because I think kids are quite they don't have this fear in them. They are so fearless and open, and what do you say, like, they are so amazed and they run towards their fears. And I think that's something that I have really wanted to kind of capture in one way or another. So I took 2 kids, my brother who was 20 and my daughter who was 10 at the time, and we had a road trip a few days before Christmas. And I just really I was missing the wind and the snow, and where the rain would come from down or the side. You from Finland and Scandinavia, you all know the feeling when, we don't have an umbrella. It's like impossible. But we to feel this energy from nature and kind of feel it in your bones and be part of it was something that I could feel was missing from my life by living abroad for so long. So we had the road trip a few days before Christmas in this crazy weather, and the police even stopped us at some point because the road had been closed, and asked us to find a place to stay at the near farm, like at the nearest farm, which we did. But we, Iceland is quite energetic, and it has different energies from day to day, and even in the same day we can have 5 different kinds of weather. So we got all sorts of weather, and the next day it was much better, and we got calmness. But the concept in this piece in this series, is called "We Are Weather," and it's about how the weather in each country where you're from, it does affect you, and it does affect your feelings and kind of your energy levels. And it's a lot of depression during the winter months in Iceland. But I kind of really like the blue light. We have 2 hours of bright light during the darkest months. So it's not much time to shoot when you have to drive as well. But it makes it even more exciting and kind of interesting in my mind. And this was actually when I was still living in Paris. And when I thought about moving back to Iceland, for some reason, I continued this connection to nature and its kind of healing effect. And in my next series called Wandering, it's really hard to pronounce. It was more about me going into caves or digging deeper, made a short film inside of a volcano and connecting to ground and kind of the earth, like this earthbound, or what do you say, grounding. People sometimes need after traveling a lot or living abroad. So yeah, I was connecting to these geothermal areas and volcanoes and caves, and I don't know, going kind of inside the Mother Earth, I think, for some reason, going back home. And when I had moved back to Iceland, I still continued this the same kind of feeling in my work with people in nature, and made the series called Connection, where I really could feel how many, like I said, after living abroad, how I could feel how we lose easily this connection by living in big cities, by kind of being in the safe zone, being scared, all that. And a lot of, I believe, modern day illnesses come from this disconnection from nature. Because what I felt by moving back was I could feel this healing effect starting, which I thought was quite amazing. And I don't know, this feeling to be somewhere in the middle of nowhere, there's basically nothing to relate to, and still feel you belong, and you can feel that you are secure, even though you're amongst dangerous forces or waterfalls or whatever. I don't know. It's there's something there anyway. So I start taking my models into these places, which I knew about or had this special effect on me. And my process is in that way that I introduce the project, the concept, and we kind of meditate on the space where we are. And the model has complete free movement, and the only thing I want is the person to find and do things that are like kind of comes from the heart, are right. And sometimes they stay still, we get quite hypnotized. Sometimes they want to run. You know, it's all sorts of energy that different places can arouse within people. And like you can see, they're talking about kids and running towards the ocean. There is some, I don't know, there is some string to us and water and these forces for some reason, which I think is quite interesting, and I love to explore, and the playfulness that happens as well. And for this instant, we were shooting at a black beach, a beautiful black beach, crazy waves, and this girl, she chose to climb up in the mountain where she saw this little cave, and there she really sat and explored everything. She felt this was her kind of recharging place. She could feel something there, which really made sense because she's a jewelry designer. So that was her connection, basically. And yeah, again, nature can take crazy forms. And again, the water. And this I really like because this is a friend of mine who had been going through quite difficult times, and what do you say, birth depression. Like when after having birth, she got really depressed, and it was beautiful how she connected to this place. It was quite safe, and the water for her was, like she said afterwards, when she saw the pictures, she really felt how the water was like a cleansing, like a making new path of cleaning her energy, or so I really enjoyed that when I hear the models or the people I shoot their stories afterwards. And again, why do we believe that mountains are trolls? Well, no wonder that they can take amazing forms, and especially in Iceland. I don't know how it is in other countries, but we do personal, like the mountains are a person almost. Like we respect it as a person, and which might be the reason I connect to this a lot to stones or cliffs, and then water, which is quite opposite. Again, making stories for me, it's not every single location is like a little short story in my mind. And when I go there, I'm in a certain place of my mind that I am connected to the energy, and it's just start happening. All these ideas, what could have been here, what before. We are just a fraction of time, and when I discuss that with models, it's just a beautiful play that happens. And again, talking about the first picture I showed you, which my dad shot of the waterfall and the kids and people in nature. There's just, I don't know, this effortless and this easiness within nature, which I absolutely love. And I think it's beautiful, this to find and see how fragile we are as human beings in comparison to Mother Earth. And again, different places, different people. This man, he felt, I don't know, he felt connected to the birds that was flying over for some reason. It was fun. And there's a picture you see behind me as well, which is like, in my mind, quite perfect for this energy and this feeling of freedom and beautiful connection which he felt, and captured in like what you say in one image. But what I want to show you next is a little video, not a video. It's all the other images that wasn't used, and show you all the struggle and imperfection that happens along the way when you are making one photograph, because I want to show you this because I think it's really important. For me, it's not just the image I make, the whole process and kind of the, what do you say, the performance or the action of getting there is as important. And I very often show videos as well with my photographs. I'm just gonna start, I don't know, that's, yeah. So photographs or video and sound installation in my exhibition. And my most recent photo series, I focused on shooting the photographs, but I had a people of seven people team with me making the short film with the concept. So that was a new experience which I really enjoyed and definitely am continuing doing. But yeah, here you can see it's just like raw material. Some are edited a little bit, just like how I work, a lot of pictures, you know. And then from thousands of pictures, you get, you know, a few. We all know that, photographers. So I don't know what more I can tell, but I think I'm open for questions. And if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer that. But maybe I just let this.
Leave something up for us to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, that was wonderful. We showed just her heel on the Earth and everything as she was going through space. Thank you very much, Maria. It's beautiful work. I have to say that the first question I have is, I mean, you have such a strong connection to Earth and very dramatic, you know, the land and sea, very dramatic scenes. You said that you've lived most of your adult life in cities. Is that right?
Yeah, since I was 25 till 35. I'm 40 now. I moved back here a few years back, and I was studying and living in Glasgow and London and Paris, and then I moved back. But as a teenager, I was working and living in the west coast of Iceland in a remote hotel, Snæfellsnes Peninsula. And the NASA has actually put a stick in the ground as it to be like at some point, some little area where it's supposed to be the most energetic spot on Earth, which I might influence my work as well. I remember this as a teenager going horse riding, trying to find this stick and imagining how I would feel being there, you know, standing on this place. So maybe that's the reason I'm always looking for this energy and this, yeah, I don't know, might be.
Well, it's beautiful work.
Cheers.
I mean, the other thing that comes to my mind is there are rarely scenes of just nature. It is a figure involved in nature in some way. I mean, it's usually a solitary figure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do talk about your work as being a short story, and actually the location is being a short story. Mm-hmm. So is that, I mean, tell us more about how you came to that point of creating these short stories.
Probably because when I was living in London, I was part of a group called Bentzon, which means in process, and it's a group of 7 people or 6 people that come from all different kinds of art forms. Like we have a musician, a theater person, an actor, a filmmaker, and we've been like creating all sorts of what do you say, site-specific work and performances, videos, films. So I assume they have educated me into thinking in that way, which I think is quite enjoyable and fun. And it's easier when you have something that's burning on your mind or on your heart and you really need to get it out. It's like for a musician, my husband is a musician, it's so easy for him to just write a song about it, you know, to tell it in a story. For me, the photograph is, I'm educated in fine art. So I was kind of always thinking about the final piece. And it kind of taught me to think more probably like a photojournalist or a movie maker or that sort of artist, I assume. Did that answer your question?
No, it's very. I don't know if there are any answers, but yes, I mean, I'm interested in your narrative and how you came to take the pictures. Yeah, no, it's the subjects who you're photographing. Do you always have a personal relationship with them? How well do you feel that you need to have some personal connection to them?
To the people in my photographs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, for me, I prefer knowing them. I have worked both with people I don't know and people I know. And I choose the people not just for how they look, or it's from their character as well. So it's better for me, I believe it's, and for the work, if I know the people and I know I'm looking for certain kind of characters, because when you're experimenting and testing things out, you need different kinds of characters to work with you, because you get different outcome as well. It can always surprise you, which I love, and
Right.
get a good surprise in your work, not what you planned for, but something completely new and even bigger, deeper meaning in it.
Well, yeah, no, it certainly is different whether you know the people or not. I don't know if you're familiar with Nixon's work, Nicholas Nixon, but I remember him talking about, he set up his pictures, they're working with a view camera, and then he, what he'd say is he'd just let them fall apart. He'd let the subjects just rest and come to their own balance. It sounded like an interesting process. It just sort of reminded me of what you're saying. Well, we're out of time, but thank you so much. It's beautiful work, and I've never been to Iceland, and I'm dying to go now.
Yeah,
I've always been dying to go, but it looks fabulous.
Be my guest.
Well, maybe you say you have an inn on the West Coast or the East Coast. What was it?
I was a teenager. I lived on Snæfellsnes Peninsula and the West Coast, but my family comes from the South Coast, so I know kind of the West and the South really well. Which I use.
Well, it looks like you know Iceland very well, very intimately. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Hopefully we'll get everybody back at the end talking together.
Okay, cool. Cheers.
Great. Hi, we're back again. And our next guest is Maria Konstanse Bruun. I won't say it again. I won't make a mess of it again. Nice to see you, Maria.
Thank you. You too. You did a good job with the name. That's okay.
Well, I mean, as I said, I think it's better I don't introduce your work. I'd rather have you do that. So please go ahead, and we'll open to discussions. Anybody online is welcome to ask questions. So by all means, take over, Maria.
Thank you. I'll try to share the screen.
I believe it's at the bottom.
Yes. Stop screen. Or maybe it was shared already.
There you go.
Yeah, you can see it now.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. Now it's full screen. Can you see the full screen now?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, we're all set.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Yeah, so my name is Maria Konstanse Bruun, and I'm from Norway. And this project is basically about my mom, or it's about me and my mom, I guess. It's about my journey on trying to learn to know my mom better. My mom, when I was 5 years old, she was diagnosed with, try not to get emotional about it, with paranoid schizophrenia. So pretty much all of my life, I've known my mom as a person that was unable to be present as a mom in the traditional sense of the word because of her illness. When me and my sisters were younger, she was somebody that we were slightly embarrassed about because she was not like the other moms. She was different. But as I grew older, obviously learned to understand her illness, and the way we viewed her, I think, is also a reflection of how far we as a society had come with regards to mental health issues, because this was in the 80s. And I think if she got that diagnosis at that age today, things would have been very different. I think she would have gotten a lot more help, both her and the family around her, to understand the illness. I think would come quite much longer now than in the 80s. So in 2010, I decided that I was gonna start to photograph my mom. And these, the picture on the left is to my left. I hope it's to your left as well. Is a picture of her then, and the picture on the right, which is also a picture behind, is the picture of her in her early 20s when she was younger, and before she was diagnosed with the illness or recognized as ill. And part of my mum's spirit was that she never stopped like viewing herself as she was known back in those days. She never sort of identified with anyone else but her previous self, in a way. Her healthy, very talented in many areas. She was good in sports. She was good in arts, and she was like physically attractive. She was known to be, it was a small town, so everyone knew everyone, and she was known to be talented, and so that was who she always saw herself as being, despite the world maybe changing their opinion, or physically, when you see a person, that the disconnect between who the person see themselves as and who the person you see can be it can be quite a gap. So that it was part of what I wanted to sort of tell my mom's story, her version of it. Obviously it's my version of it, but it's also want to show her version of it. She's always been quite a colorful person. She was very occupied with aesthetics, how she looked, like colors, flowers. She liked pretty things, and she liked wearing wigs when her hair got shorter and grayer. She didn't stop her from still wanting to look her best, like, and youthful. So these are some of the photos that I took of her earlier, like around 2010. As you can see, it's like the colors, what probably you wouldn't sort of associate with a person in their 60s to wear, like sparkly palette trousers and maybe a pink robe, or but that was what she liked to wear. So and then and also physical activity was quite important. It was important to her because she was always quite active as she grew up, and she wanted to maintain feeling physically fit. So where she stayed at that institution, or wherever she stayed in, like she always were working out and keeping fit in her own way. On top of like obviously trying to control her anxiety, which was part of the illness, paranoid schizophrenia, like with heavy smoking and things like that. But she also always tried to keep fit. Then kind of gradually, she became more physically disabled, and the nature of her illness, like paranoid schizophrenia, unlike the sort of Hollywood version of schizophrenia that people have split personality disorders, she didn't sort of trust. There was many people she trusted. Me and my sisters, she trusted to a certain degree. She didn't trust the doctors. She didn't trust the staff at the place where she worked. Mostly didn't trust them, depending on the day as well. But she did not want to have any medical investigation when all of us could see that she wasn't well. In the end, she was confined to a wheelchair because she couldn't move around. It was something with her hip. And this picture I took in 2010, I can see, and I saw then as well, but I didn't realize how bad it was that she's not well physically. She's like malnourished, yeah, she didn't look well. But at the same time, I think in this picture there is a sort of strength in her eyes, and there is her spirit is quite strong despite her physical appearance and body being so skinny and malnourished. Yeah, the nature of her illness prevented her from she refused to get like an X-ray, any medical investigation that could have sort of figured out earlier what was happening to her. So in 2010, we learned that she was terminally ill with cancer. So she's basically developed lung cancer, and it's spread to her bones. So there is a spread to lots of internal organs, and including her bones. So there wasn't really anything that could be done to save her life. Basically, she was dying, which was quite a shock to me and my sisters. I was then living in England, which I've been the last 12 years. So I traveled a lot home to Norway to spend as much time as I possibly could with her. She went from staying in an institution, like a rehabilitation institution for mental health, where she had patients, where she had her own apartment, to go into a nursing home in our hometown. So then it became even more important for me to take photos of her and spend time with her, obviously, both for my own sort of personal records, to have as many memories and documentation of her as I could. It's again a bit emotional, trying not to, but yeah. Anyway, so I'm really glad I got all these photos. It was kind of interesting to sort of follow her during the last months of her life, because for many reasons the camera also almost gave me a distance to the seriousness of the situation. So where I had that sort of between me and my mom, I could focus on the pictures rather than the fact that she's dying. So it had that effect. It was kind of interesting. As I said before, she, even at that point where she was in a lot of pain most of the time, and she refused the diagnosis she was giving. She didn't believe them. She didn't believe the doctors. She refused painkillers. She refused to take any painkillers, which was really hard. She was kind of, as a society today, we got the option of sort of opting out of pain from childbirth, you know, to we die. We don't really have to sit in the pain, because the medical industry has, you know, the pharmaceutical industry has taken us so far, so we can choose not to be in pain. But my mom, you know, didn't accept any help whatsoever, so she sort of was present in that pain all the time. Like they say, like when you have cancer in the bones, it's one of the most worst types of pain you can have. But she was in it, and yeah, in a way, it also almost like it kept her going, because the pain prevented her from sleeping. So she was up and out on the balcony having a cigarette all the time. She couldn't get more than maximum like half an hour sleep in the end because of the pain. Everything was painful. It was pain. But I think in a way that sort of kept her going longer. It kept her out of bed. If she was like a person that wasn't sick, she probably would have slept and then eventually died, because you wouldn't have eaten and wouldn't have been out of bed. So she probably would have died sooner, I think. So that's quite interesting to me. So yeah, this is, they had some outside the nursing home, they had some chickens. So this was one of the trips I took her out, and she really enjoyed that as much as she could. She wanted to go down to the chickens. She loved animals, nature, flowers. As you can see from the previous pictures, like yeah, daisies were her favorite flower. So and to the last day, her looks and appearance, wanting to be the best version of herself to others, was always present. So she wore all sorts of different wigs. Me and my sisters always went wig shopping for her, or she dyed her hair. She was in so much pain she could hardly move, but she still wanted to dye her hair and do it herself. There was nothing we could say or do. This is an interesting one because it's one of the few pictures where, sorry, got something on the screen now, I don't know if you can see it, where I think she actually looks a lot older. In most of the other pictures, she's kind of dressing up more youthful than you could say she was, but this wig made her look older, and yeah, and much
Yeah,
more.
sorry, I don't, forgive me for interrupting.
Yeah,
but
no.
we want to have a chance to, ask you some questions and
Yeah, sure.
to consider the pictures. That the one, I think it was 2 frames before, that just the wig by itself was extremely powerful in the context of the body of work.
Yeah.
My background, I mean, my father was a psychoanalyst, and so was my grandmother. So, I mean, I do know something about the illness, and it's my question is, what were you able to resolve about your relationship with your mother? I mean, hopefully there was something that, there was some kind of enlightenment or resolution for you in this process. Can you tell me more about that? You talked very much about your mother, but I'd like to hear more about your feeling about it and taking these pictures.
Yeah. Well, it's different things, I think, that have come out. I think most of all, it's probably my my extreme feeling of, I don't know, empathy for her and for her situation. I think, like painfully knowing how painful her life has been. I think by getting closer to her through the camera, and also just through spending more time with her over the last few years as an adult and also as a mom myself. I think her biggest sorrow in life was partly not to be able to be present as a mom for me and my sisters. And as a mom myself, I kind of can truly understand that more now than before, I think. And also, as I've grown older and spent time and taken these pictures, it's also understanding her range of emotions, I think, because as I said, you probably know about paranoid schizophrenia. It's the logics of communication, aren't quite the same, because you didn't trust many people, and even if so understanding that when she, for example, got angry or said things that didn't make any sense, it doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't necessarily mean anger. It means fear most of the time. And if she says something that doesn't quite make sense, try to go behind that and see what is it that she's trying to communicate. And it's usually a fear of something. It's not an anger towards anyone, or it sounds banal, but when you're younger, it's not so. And I think that's where the mental health care hadn't gotten that far. I think it's something that I try to explain to my children now that weren't explained to us properly, I think, when we were young and our mom got ill.
Well,
it's
a painful and tragic situation for a child to come into. I mean, it must have been terribly confusing. How many sisters do you have? You said you have more than one?
Yeah, we were three sisters. Three altogether. So two sisters.
We're short on time, but I'm just curious, how did your sisters then feel about that? They must have seen this work. What was their response to the project that you did on your mother?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. We haven't really talked about it so much. I think I think it's been hard for them as well. Even in me taking these pictures, I haven't actually really talked to them so much about it, but I imagine that you should probably talk about it more. I mean, when somebody in your family is dying, there's other things that comes up as well. It's so during the time when my mom was so ill, we kind of had a lot of other things, just practical things to focus on, and so sitting down and having that proper talk. We haven't actually done that so much, but I don't know if that's a good question. But
no, I mean it's a little. It's difficult to talk about. and it's difficult.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the, the power of the images, and you're talking about it. As a child, there's a certain sense of, I guess, hopelessness on your part. I guess in some ways the photographs help you, if not resolve it, at least somehow contain it. But thank you very much for sharing with us the work.
Thank you. I'll just quickly scroll through because.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Well, again, hopefully we'll have a chance to meet, all of us to talk in the conclusion of the program. But are we ready for the next one? Thank you again, Maria.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Hey.
Hi.
How are you, Marie?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, as I said, I really don't like to do much introduction. Welcome to the program. Nice to see you. And with that, I mean, we'll have a chance to talk when we've had a chance to see your work. So go right ahead.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So I will share my screen now.
Great.
Yes. Can you see?
Sign off until you conclude. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. So my name is Marie, and I'm from Denmark, and I come from the eastern part of Denmark in Jutland, and I'm raised in a farm where my family has been for 4 generations, and that's also where this project takes part. So it's a bit weird to talk when you cannot see anybody, but okay, I'll do my best. It's the first time that I present this work, so I'm also a bit nervous, but I'm really happy to be here and show it. So what does væv means? It means tissue, and it should be understood like as the lines and the patterns and the structures like in our life that is all connected. So about like who we have been and what we are now and what we will be, it's all connected kind of. So it's a symbol for that. But this project takes place, as I said, as in this farm, and it began the project when my parents told me that they were.
Sorry to interrupt. If I'm reading your screen right, your battery is about to run out. I think your computer's going to die of this.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
We don't want to lose you.
No. Yes. Okay. Sorry about that. Yes. Okay. Great. No, it's good. So yeah, this project began where at a place where my parents was about to sell the farm, and they were of course asking me and my siblings if we were about to take over, and because of it has this long history of in my family. We are the 5th generation, so yeah, and at this part, it all began. This my thoughts about the place, and the connection. And I think at that time I was also like a bit stressed out and lost, and had to kind of find peace. And it got really clear for me that when I got back home, it was always the place to find peace. And it also like began to get clear that this place really means a lot to me. So I began to like explore this like connection, and the feelings and like the memories from my childhood. So I began to photograph when I like as I was a child, just shooting from the hip, and not thinking so much about the photography. Like yeah, so and then I also shoot a lot of self-portraits at that time. Yeah, so this is one of the self-portraits. I've made a book, a small book. I also have a picture in the end you can see. But yeah, I was as I said, shooting a bit from the hip, and I didn't thought that it was a project in the beginning. It was more like just get the feelings out, and then I began to edit the material, and I could see that I had this like really colorful style, and a bit more poetic and like dreamy. I didn't want to had to be so concrete. I want to like tell the more inner feelings in it. So yeah, so what I was feeling, but not so much was it how it looked. Yeah, so yeah, the picture behind this is my father's hands, and this is my mom. Yeah, and yeah, the point also, to get back to the fearless theme also here at the photo festival, it was more like this childish way to go into the project, but also like that was what I was thinking about a lot in this process, like being a child, and this way to go direct fearlessly to things, and yeah, like not being so controlled all the time, like and also thinking like this picture with the berries, also like what berries do we carry with us like for the rest of the lives, what is like what do you take with you from your childhood to your adulthood, and yeah, these themes. So so yeah, they repeat a bit. Yeah, so there's not like a narrative or a storyline in the pictures, but it's more like some flashes and memories like cut up together. Yeah, and I made this dummy of a book, as you see here, where I also like played with text, and I write kind of diaries, that I put these flashes together and collected also different stones and feathers and stuff from the farm that I put together. So yeah, so it could all be like this book full of memories, but it's still a process, and it's still a project that I'm working on. So it's not like fully ended yet. Yeah. Yeah, that was what I had.
But bring me back. That was great. Yeah, I mean, it obviously had. I mean, you talked about it being very spontaneous, and yet the end result is this, wonderfully designed book. You're certainly working the two pictures, putting them next to each other, juxtaposing the images. It's very striking. Not only the content of the images, but also the design and the the layout of the book, it becomes an object that contains those images in a very elegant way.
Thank you.
You say that you took the pictures very spontaneously, and there is a looseness to them. How did you feel about it then going back editing it? I mean, you clearly have a good eye as a photographer. You must have, I think I know what you mean, where you're not, I mean, there was a great baseball expression that you can't think and bat at the same time. If you want to hit the ball, don't think about it. It looked like what you're doing there with the photographs with your camera. It does feel very loose and spontaneous, and yet the end result looks quite considered and that you contemplated it. It's very well thought out. How did you make that transition? I mean, you talked a little bit about it, but that's what I'm curious about.
I know what you mean. I think it's a lot in the editing process that things come to get meaning. Like, it's not in the taking the photos, but it's I really like this process where you have everything on floor and you can just put everything together, and suddenly it's just like, oh, that was the feeling that I had. And I didn't have that when I took the photo, but it was in the editing process. So,
Yeah, it shows. I'm curious, what photographers do you like? What images did you see that made you want to become a photographer?
I was totally obsessed with Olivia B, if you know her.
Olivia P? No, I don't think I do.
She was at my age and also has this bit colorful style. She's a fashion photographer now, but also shoots personal projects. But that was. I think that was my big, inspiration.
Yeah, well, it's wonderful work. It was wonderful to see it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know how much time we have left, but I was wondering if we could get the four of us together and maybe have a little discussion about your perspective on the other people's work. Is everyone still here? Hi again. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for waiting with us to join in. I'd like to have a sort of cross dialogue if that's possible. I mean, it's very different work. And yet I would say, once again, all three of you are doing it. It's a personal vision. I mean, the way that someone once described street photography to me was that you go out with a camera and wait to see what happens. None of you are waiting to see what happens. You're going out with a purpose with a camera. You have an idea, as vague as it may be in your case, Marie, but still, there was a narrative you were trying to write, trying to create. I'm trying to encourage the three of you to take the ball away from me and engage with each other.
I did connect to both of the projects, both with Maria and Marie, in a different way. I believe most photographers go through this period, of self-portraits, shooting other people, landscapes, interior. We all do that at a certain time until we find our own path, which kind of finally represent what we actually want to do and continue working on. So I did connect to both of your work and in that way.
Yeah, same. I mean, traditionally, well, now I don't really do sort of documentary style. I do more stage self-portrait, conceptual work. But when this with my mom happened, I kind of had to document it somehow. So I also want to say I really can relate to Maria Kjartans' project because I lived in England and other cities for many years. And last year we moved back to Norway, and now we live like half an hour drive to the shops, and a whole thing of just wanting your kids to grow up in nature. And it's really a profound longing.
Yeah,
that I felt.
like Maria Bentzon has been experiencing as well. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I really also enjoyed your projects, but it's especially Maria Kjartans, this with the connection to the nature, and like just having a connection to something is what you were talking about also with the city, like having the loss of the connection to the nature, but I think also the connection to the history, like my farm, like this, you don't have this connection to the place today, you just live so many places. And but I think it's important to talk about also in this like environment crisis, that there is a connection to something. I think it's quite important.
Can I ask you one question, Marie? Did you or your siblings take over the farm?
No.
Oh.
But actually they haven't sold it yet, so they are still like don't know if they're gonna move, and my dad has really hard time leaving, so I'm not sure, it never happens actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can believe. Yeah.
But,
Maria, I
mean,
also I also connected. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, please.
No, I was just saying I connected to her portraits as well, because I have a brother who is diagnosed with bipolar, and my newest project is basically about him. So. But inside of a canyon with an actress, not himself, but his story, basically. So so a different angle on it. But I think we all have no family is perfect, and it's interesting. It's so healthy to see other people discuss their cracks or their imperfections, what they have been ashamed of, and be proud of it today, because we're all different. And it's all diseases. Why should mental illnesses be treated, or people with mental illnesses be treated any other than people with cancer, for example, when they're trying, when they're in the process or in the healing? I think that's quite. I'm glad that people are discussing as you're making this project, and other people are making projects about that to raise awareness, basically. I think.
Yeah, because like you say, with a physical illness, people can see it and they can empathize, but it's really hard to relate to a mental health issue if you're not really close to the person, I think. And but I think we have come quite far compared to in the 80s, but there's still a ways to go, I think.
Yeah. But every little project helps, to raise awareness, talk about it. Yeah. And art is so important in that case, I believe, because it's open to you can discuss things without you can put everything out there, with no fear. Be fearless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's really strong to see that you also get affected, of course, but it really hit me. The pictures, they were really strong, I think. Yeah.
And beautiful. I think your mother's beautiful. Yeah.
It's kind of hard. I found myself getting it. Like you said, you can't see who you're talking to, so it's really hard. And I'm actually realized I'm not that. Although there's a picture of my mom that's been in the National Portrait Gallery. It's been shown a lot, but I haven't actually talked about it so much. And so it was a bit challenging today, I found. But anyway,
well done.
Yeah.
Well,
you too.
thank you all
for
showing us your work and having a chance to talk about it. I think that's about it for the time, Maria. Laura, how much time do we have?
More, Maria.
Yeah.
We have 1 minute. Okay. I just stepped. Joke. You never step on a comedian's joke. I just stepped on my own joke there, like preempting it. Then we have 10 minutes. We have quite a bit of time. And then I really messed it up. No, let me ask you another question then. I mean, I guess what I'm interested in, my point about, if you're a street photographer, you're waiting to see what happens. I gave up street photography very early, and for me, it is very much about they're discovering something that you want to say, and I'd like to hear. I mean, for instance, Maria, with your mother, that was very clear that how you found that narrative. But with Maria, when you coming and living in the big cities and coming back to nature, tell us a little bit more about how that evolves for you, because you're taking from your memories, but then you're creating images with the camera, and that is a process. There's a beginning and end to that. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you did that, or how you see that process?
You're talking about
for
me,
instance,
Marie?
you said you're doing a new one with your brother. I mean, how does that relate?
Yeah, that's just a new angle on how I work, my latest project, and showing my pieces in movie theaters and exhibition spaces together is quite a different. I'm just opening up to other platforms with photography, basically. But the projects, when I was living in London, I was working with a gallery who sent my work to Magnum exhibition, and that was some project I made while I was hitchhiking in Iceland the winter before, to visiting my sister in the north. And I did some beautiful images in the snow. That was more like just nature, me hitchhiking in a snowstorm. So they saw the pictures, and I got first prize. So I got a grant to shoot the blue snowy pictures, basically. So that's how it evolved, basically. I know when you start doing one, you are on a path, and you just continue. It was great. It was the first time ever I think I got some money to actually make work and make it properly. So I did actually a little movie, like paper movie as well, with that one called Weird Weather, and can be found on YouTube if anyone is interested. But yeah, it was basically about this something missing when you don't have nature, and how can I add it back to my life, and how can I connect to it, and show people that the energy of nature is amazing, and it's healing, and it's powerful, and gives you so much, because I was very passionate about that, especially at the time. When you're making work, you go all in, you don't see the sun, but yeah, that project went really well as well. It was exhibited quite a lot in Europe. Then I started doing the connection project after that, and during this time I got married. I had 2 more children. I bought a house and a summer house, and life kind of took over. So it was very convenient for me to shoot in Iceland, easy access, and it was something I really want to continue with, basically.
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, the form follows function. I mean, you had the opportunity, and the need to take pictures.
But the personal crisis came in later, and then I started working with that. My brother and his illness, and also my grandparents' business. I'm not going to get into that here, but so, and I could feel that it was much stronger for me when I had something going on in my life that I could reflect in my work, rather than this. It was really broad, this connection to Earth, and in the weather was what do you say? It was very important for me to make that work, but for me, as I see it now, it was kind of a pathway to use nature and this kind of environment for my other project that came after. So everything seems to happen for a reason, I assume. And was that unclear?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a balance in nature and a balance to life. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's well, by the way, just get back to you, Marie, about your family farm. Obviously, that had to do with its personal heritage, and I mean, a deep, long generational family heritage. Did you grow up there?
Yes.
I mean, that's not a summer cottage. That's where you grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my dad has never been living anywhere else than that place. So yeah, there is a
Yeah, I mean,
big connection.
that's
Yeah.
home. Yeah.
That's really home. Yeah, that's really like the idyllic home, or what do you say? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully, as adults, we all look back on our childhood with fond memories. It's not always possible. But where do you live now?
I live in Copenhagen now.
Right. So you
Yeah.
moved away from the country and into a big city.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really miss it. Yeah, but it was because of the education. I'm in the city now, so yeah. I think I will go back at one point.
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, life is cyclical, not linear. We move in circles. But that's great. Well, we're almost out of time now. I got the time, the clock wrong earlier. Thank you again, all of you, for participating. And it's difficult to talk about your work, and you often have to sort of lay yourself bare, and when you present it and talk about it. I thought you all did a wonderful job. I think just in closing, I want to again talk about the festival itself, and that there are a number of events. Everyone, please take a look at the website. The exhibitions around town are great. Most of them are outside. And if you just get a bike and go around Helsinki, it's a great way to see all the exhibitions. By the way, have any of you been to Helsinki? Have you been able to come to the festival?
No, unfortunately
I
not.
wish.
I would love to go.
Yeah.
It's great. It's really wonderful. It's a great event. To have it in the summertime. It's it's a different life here in Scandinavia in the summer. I guess I don't have to tell any of you that. It's wonderful. Again, thank you all for joining us tonight, and those of you in the audience. I look forward to seeing you again and seeing what you do in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.